recording. So it should be a short lesson today. We'll go over some logistics on what to do, and then we'll get you started on the first coding bat problem, reversing a string. So this week we got three things. You have your typical reflection, you have palindrome checker, your coding processing assignment, and then you have a coding bat problem set. What's special about this week's problem set is nice, Travis. So what's special about this problem set is you want to do one or two of these coding bats a day, because these coding bat problems are pretty much breaking down palindrome checker into little functions and steps. Once you've gotten a good ways through in this palindrome coding bat problem set, you can copy and paste a lot of that code, reuse it in palindrome checker, the assignment. So palindrome checker, we have let's just go to the slides, right? So palindromes are words or sentences. It's a bunch of characters that reads the same ways backwards as they do forwards. So Travis in the chat gave us one, ibophobia. Madam, race car, the number 10,801. A man, a plan, a canal, Panama. Was it a car or a cat I saw? No X in Nixon. These are all palindromes, and your goal this week is to write a program that checks to see if, when I give you a sentence, is it a palindrome or not. Because we've moved away from little pretty outputs, we're just dealing with text, we're able to utilize Replit a little bit better. They've also recently introduced some more support for processing in Replit, so Mr. Simon and I are moving our ways towards Replit. It makes it easier for distance learning. It works all in the browser, especially for Chromebook users. This is the place to go. So this week, you'll notice under the assignment prompt here that there's a link to the Replit. So you can click on this and fork. With a Replit account, you're able to save your work, save your progress, and you now have the option of submitting this Replit link instead of your GitHub link. You could also do the usual download this palindromechecker.pde along with palindromes.txt and submit and code and then upload as you usually do. Feel free to also make the modification like we did for Pig Latin of copy and pasting the contents of palindromes.txt and making it into an array of strings. That's also legal. Let's see. To demonstrate how it works on Replit, okay, once you, when you click on the link, you'll see Mr. Simon's face in the upper left-hand corner, as I'm demonstrating here. This is the base code. This is the code Mr. Simon's sharing with you. This is the code that you'll fork off from, that you'll make a copy of, like in a Google Doc. So notice in the upper left it says Mr. Simon Lowell. You'll need to fork it, which is this big button in the middle, fork, which makes a copy, your copy. And when you do click that button, now it looks like this. You'll see your username in the upper left-hand corner, and then you see palindrome base. Question? I'll demonstrate running it once. Okay, it does take a while. That's one of the drawbacks with using Replit. In order for it to support processing, it does a bunch of loading and importing that takes a little while. You'll notice on the right-hand side, you see the console. Think about that like the black output window in your processing editor, right? And we've got to wait maybe a little over a minute for it to load up the stuff, and then we'll see the output, which is saying it prints out the contents of palindromes.txt and shows it in the console. Is it running? I think it's running. It's taking a sweet old time. I think the first instance that you run it, it's especially slow, but then afterwards it becomes a little bit faster. So this is normal. Gotta have patience. At least I think it's normal. Has it run? I think it has. Maybe it hasn't. Because I ran it once before. Let's see. Go, my program. Nothing. Well, darn. Oh well. Oh no, there it goes. Alright, so it's running. It's doing its thing over here. It's executing main.java and sketch.java. Guess I wasn't patient enough. And then eventually, okay, there it goes. Oh, I got an error. So this is stuff that we'll fill in later in today's lecture. I just wanted to show you the output ones. Stopping. And you can see in real time, it is a slow. Right, so it stopped. I'll click run again and hope that it's faster this time. Yes, it does look like it's faster. It's doing its thing. Right. Cool. And your attention is in this lower right-hand window. You should see lines of output being produced. Come on. Gives you a sense of what programming was like before we had really fast computers. You'd like run your code, compile it, do this fancy stuff. And during that time, you'd go get a cup of coffee, maybe eat lunch, come back, and then see your output. Like way back in the day. This is the norm. Unlike pressing a play button and seeing the pretty output. Oh, there we go. Right. You recognize the sketch window. Although this output up here, you really don't need it. This upper window with pictures, right? This is the one that takes a long time. If it was just text like this, then it would be really short. So you're convinced it works. You have this option of running and coding up everything in Replit as your browser-based programming like thing. Now we're back to here. Okay, on to the reverse function. So one way to approach your palindrome project is to write a function that reverses a word. Right? Once you reverse the word, you're transferring over letter by letter into like an empty string, and then then you compare it and you see, does the original match your newly reversed string? If it does, then you have a palindrome. If it doesn't, then you don't have a palindrome. Simple enough. So this first chunk, we have a coding bat problem reverse. You want to complete this program, this short function, by the end of class. And I'll walk you through the steps. So first off, we need to create an empty string to hold our answer, which is that string in reverse. But some review. What do you think the output of this code segment will be? Message in the chat. Feel free to direct message me. What is the output? System.out.println bob.length. Give people a moment to type in stuff. Ah, very good. Caught himself. You're not printing out Bob, you're printing out bob.length. Cool. We're having a good bunch of answers. It could be an error, some people are saying. It could be empty. It could be 0. So this code segment returns 0. The Bob, what was it? Looks like this, right? Some of you are thinking error. It might be blah, blah, blah. Okay, clear. Right, you got Bob, right? The pointer, it points to a new string. So the new keyword is used, so it does exist, and its contents is empty. So an empty string does have a length. Its length is 3. If you try to print out the contents of Bob, you'll see nothing because that's the empty string, but it doesn't lead to an error. Written another way, you can initialize an empty string like this. String Bob equals 2 quotation marks with nothing in between. This is the empty string. It also has, or this way of declaring it also has a length of 0. So this is the place where we're going to store our answer, 1 character at a time. Clear the diagram. So take this time to open up CodingBat, log in, and click on the reverse function, the very first problem in your CodingBat assignment, and type in string s equals quotation mark. We'll fill in these question marks soon. You may want to exclude those for now, and then write return s. And you should see, I think, 1 test case pass while the other ones fail. So I'll give you a moment to get that open, get that filled in. Our goal is to get it all done by the end of class. And you're welcome to look ahead in the slides. If you have an idea of where I'm going, go ahead and continue working and coding on reverse. Maybe 23 more seconds, then I'll move on in the slides. Okay, so once you're there, right, we're going to walk through an example using the word madam. Notice that while we loop through that original word, in this CodingBat example, it's stored in S word. Our answer will be stored in S. Okay, S will contain the reversed original string, reverse version of S word. Notice that we'll need to use a loop. However, with this loop, our starting, stopping, and increments are a little bit different. We got to go backwards. So we will start at the end. So I is initialized to be the length. In this case, I learned from block 1 that I should annotate here to show you the value of sword.length, right? So I starts really large. I starts at 5. We're going to stop when I is less than 0, or we're going to keep going as long as I is bigger than 0 to match this for loop exactly. And each time we iterate, each time we repeat, we're going to make I 1 smaller than the one than it was before. So this code is the same as I equals I minus 1. Right? So type in this for loop here, and I'll walk you through, well, I won't fill in this part just yet, but I'll go through an example of what your for loop should be doing. Right? up here, move this out of the way. Up here in the upper right is Madam. Below it are the indices. Currently, S is empty. All right. Clear. Move this up a little bit. And I will keep track of I. I is 5 right now. Next slide. So notice, while I is 5, you want to isolate one character. Specifically, we got the last character. It starts, we include position 4. It includes position 4, but excludes position 5. Remember, that's how the substring worked. You used it a lot in Pig Latin. Okay, so I is still 5. Notice how it matches up with this index here. And then notice its relationship, I minus 1. Okay, and then you update that into S. Right, S, you need to include now the new letter M. And then we go on. Okay, next time, loop repeats. I is now decreased to be the number 4 in this slide. I is now 4. Same kind of matching occurs, right? That's 4. So then we care about position 3. We got the A. The last A from Madam now gets stored in our reverse string. So now it looks like this. Notice the pattern here. Once we've updated S to be what it was before plus the letter A, okay, that's concatenating, putting things together, the plus. We go ahead and move on to the next slide, in which case we update I. Remember, we're moving backwards, so I is now 3. Keep pressing on the annotate button and like screwing it up on my video. It covers up some stuff. Okay, I is now 3. Notice the matching. D is now added. Decrement. I is now 2 in this specific slide. Then I becomes 1. You can't go any more. Notice it's strictly bigger than 0, so it doesn't run when I becomes 0. And we've gotten Madam. We've successfully reversed a string. You have an idea of what goes here? It can be done all in one line. Thumbs up if you figured it out. And then message me in chat or thumbs down if you want a more direct hint on what you put. Is there a thumbs down? I think so. In Zoom. Or like any other reaction, I guess. Hands clapping means that you need a bit more help. Okay. Yes, very good. So that line of code should look like S equals S plus something. You have to use your original string. So it's S equals S plus S word dot, and then the function that isolates one character at a time. Shall I show that in code, what I mean? So in direct code format, we have our empty string. We return it, and as a sanity check, let's just see, okay, I do pass one test case. I see that the empty string is returned in each test case. Then I do my for loop. Int I equals because we're moving backwards, sword.length. It's a function. S has to be bigger than 0, or subtracting. And now the code looks like S equals X, S equals S plus something, something, something. My hint here is sword, watch the capitalization, dot substring. I'll leave this part for you to figure out. And that's your program. You've gotten the reverse function once you get these indices correct. Cool. So definitely get this done. I must have messed up the positioning then. Let's see. Because you could have gone one of those I+1 too, right? So, like, some of you are thinking that the answer could look like this, I guess, right? By 1. Then I need to stop at 1. So you could shift it over by 1 like each time, right? Yeah, so this is legal, this works, but it kind of shifts your focus, right? Notice you went +1 here. The answer I was suggesting was really like matching it up like this, right? Because I is like the second argument, you never include the second one with substring. Like this also works with minimal shifting. Make sense? Oh yeah, and you can make it super easy by using char at, and well, okay, because if you use char at, remember that returns a character. Then you have to do a little bit of conversion with the empty string to change it back into a string, I think. That makes sense? Like that's also legal, but now we're deviating from what the slides are suggesting. No, it also works. Looks like you can put a character with a string, it'll be no problem. So many ways, right? We just demonstrated 3 ways to get this line of code. It's nice that you're comparing and contrasting methods like in math class. Understanding the reasoning behind it and why it works is really good for you. So quickly, I demonstrated 3 potential answers. I'm glad you all found it. Use the one that makes sense to you. And the main idea, you've done this once before, is that you'll be reusing reverse in your palindrome program. In fact, the next challenge is palindrome. You should copy and paste this reverse, as I'm demonstrating here, and then paste it into the bottom of is palindrome, okay? Like that. So that in here, you now have the ability to reverse a string. Notice in this line, right, we reverse the word, and then we do some checking. Cool. So at the end of this class, you should be able to do the first 2 problems of your coding bat assignment. You're like 1/5 of the way there. You've pretty much gotten the first part of your palindrome checker. But wait, there's always more. What about sentences? Now you have things that are more than 1 word. You need to be able to ignore capitalization, spaces, and punctuation. This will be the topic of our next live lecture. We will address how do we ignore capitalization, how do we get rid of spaces, and how do we destroy the punctuation so that those still count as palindromes, right? You don't include punctuation marks or spaces when checking for palindromes. And you can see in this example, was it nurses run, madam, I'm Adam, are in fact palindromes? Yes. But in our program as written using reverse and is palindrome don't address those specific cases. So we have that to look forward to. Gotta let you go now. We've got a minute left to our Monday class. Take care. Formally you're dismissed. You're welcome to stay a minute if you have individual questions, but I got a block 7 I need to get to. Okay, take care everyone.